Arsenal just won the Premier League for the first time in 22 years, reached their first ever Champions League final, and then spent the following 2 months acting like none of it was quite enough. That's really the whole story here. This isn't a club scrapping to finally break through anymore. It's the reigning champion, still spending, still closing in on one of the best midfielders in the league, and reportedly willing to smash its own wage record for a move that would be one of the boldest of the entire summer. Welcome to Football Detailing. Let's get into it. It's worth sitting with what Arsenal actually did last season, because it's easy to undersell just how big a deal it was. Mikel Arteta's side finally ended a title drought stretching back to Arsene Wenger's Invincibles in 2003-04, and they didn't even do it in the tidy way you'd script. Manchester City's 1-1 draw at Bournemouth on a Tuesday night, with Arsenal not even playing, confirmed the title with a game to spare, the champagne popping in living rooms and pubs rather than on the pitch. It capped a run in which Arteta had taken over back in 2019 at close to the lowest ebb in Arsenal's modern history, and spent years rebuilding the club piece by piece, enduring 3 straight painful runner-up finishes before finally getting over the line. And what actually won them the league wasn't some free-scoring, cavalier attack. It was defense. Arsenal finished with the best defensive record in the division and 19 clean sheets across the campaign, with David Raya claiming the Golden Glove for a 3rd season running. That's not luck. That's a system drilled to the point of near perfection. Then came Budapest, the closest Arsenal have ever come to lifting the one trophy that's eluded the club for close to 140 years. Facing PSG in their 2nd ever Champions League final, Arsenal took the lead inside 6 minutes through Kai Havertz, racing onto a Leandro Trossard knockdown before drilling a finish high past the PSG keeper. For well over an hour, their defensive game plan held up beautifully against the reigning European champions, until Ousmane Dembélé leveled from the penalty spot in the second half. From there, it turned into one of those finals that leaves you wrung out just watching it. Khvicha Kvaratskhelia thought he'd won it for PSG, only to see his effort cannon back off the post via a deflection off teenager Miles Lewis-Skelly. At the other end, with 10 seconds left on the clock, Victor Gyökeres saw a shot deflect agonizingly wide when it looked destined for the top corner. Extra time couldn't separate the sides either, and it went all the way down to the 5th round of penalties before Gabriel, of all people, one of Arsenal's most reliable players all season, blazed his effort over the bar to hand PSG a 4-3 shootout win and back-to-back European titles. Losing on penalties after 90-plus minutes of genuinely matching the European champions isn't really evidence of a weakness. If anything, it's evidence of just how fine the margins get at the very top of this competition. So what does Arteta's system actually look like, tactically, to produce results like that? It's built around defensive rigidity first, and everything else second: a settled backline, a disciplined double pivot, and a willingness, even against the best attacking sides on the planet, to sit in and refuse to be broken down through the middle. It isn't the most cavalier football in the league, but as a complete package, that balance delivered a Premier League title and a Champions League final in the same season, which is about as good a case for boring but devastatingly effective as English football has seen in years. What makes the whole project even more unsettling for the rest of the division is how deep the talent underneath the first team has become. 19-year-old Miles Lewis-Skelly became the 2nd youngest Englishman ever to start a Champions League final, behind only Trent Alexander-Arnold's mark from 2018, deflecting that Kvaratskhelia effort onto the post, and then sprinting the length of the pitch late on to beat Désiré Doué to a loose ball. And 16-year-old Academy graduate Max Daumann, who'd already become the youngest player in Premier League history to score a goal earlier in the season, picked up a winner's medal of his own, the youngest player ever to do so, comfortably beating the previous record held by Phil Foden. That's a club producing genuine first-team ready talent from within. At the exact moment, it's also winning trophies and shopping at the very top of the market. Not many clubs get to do both at once. It's also worth remembering how unlikely Daumann's story is on its own terms. He's still officially in school. Under Premier League rules for players under 18, he's had to change into his kit in a separate room from his senior teammates before training and matches. And yet in March he became the youngest goalscorer in Premier League history, breaking clear from the halfway line to seal a win over Everton after coming off the bench, before capping the whole campaign off with that title medal in May. Add in the fact that close friend and fellow academy graduate Ethan Nwaneri has been breaking his own age records over the past couple of seasons, and you start to get a sense of just how unusual Arsenal's position is right now. They're not just buying success. They're growing a chunk of it themselves, at the same time as writing some of the biggest checks in the club's history. That patience and that financial ambition is exactly what's driving this summer's business, starting with Bruno Guimarães. Arsenal have reportedly agreed personal terms with the Newcastle captain and are pushing hard to get a deal over the line, having already had an opening bid in the region of £70 million on the table, before returning with an improved offer worth roughly £75 million including add-ons. Newcastle, for their part, have been holding out for more, and reports suggest they've previously valued Guimarães considerably higher than that. There's genuine optimism on both sides that a compromise gets found before the window shuts, but as things stand, it remains an ongoing negotiation rather than a done deal. This is a club testing Newcastle's resolve, not one that's already won the argument. It's a pursuit with some history behind it too. Arsenal have circled Guimarães on and off for years, long before he ever pulled on a Newcastle shirt. And this is arguably the first time the interest has looked genuinely mutual rather than one-sided. For a player who's spent several seasons establishing himself as one of the Premier League's most complete midfielders, the appeal of regular Champions League football and a shot at silverware is an obvious pull, whatever loyalty he might feel to the club that gave him his platform in England. Arsenal have already backed up that intent elsewhere, and with rather less drama. They made Piero Hincapie's loan from Bayer Leverkusen permanent for a fee in the region of £34 million. A player who'd already proven himself over a full season in England, including in the final itself. They brought in goalkeeper Ilan Meslier on a free transfer from Leeds, giving David Raya proper depth and cover behind him. And they signed Christos Tzolis from Club Brugge for around £34 million too, a direct, end-product-focused winger who scored 22 goals and set up 29 more in 52 appearances last season alone. Numbers aimed squarely at fixing the lack of output that's dogged Arsenal's left flank compared to what Bukayo Saka has consistently delivered on the right. But the move that would genuinely change everything is Vinicius Jr. And it's worth being precise about exactly where this stands, because the reporting has moved fast, and it's easy to get carried away. Vinicius's contract talks with Real Madrid have reportedly stalled, even with new manager Jose Mourinho keen to keep him around, and his current salary is believed to sit somewhere between roughly £400,000 and £470,000 a week. Arsenal, according to The Telegraph, are prepared to go beyond that figure entirely, enough to make him the highest earner in the club's history, comfortably overtaking Bukayo Saka's reported deal. A move for Vinicius has reportedly received internal approval at every level of the club, from Arteta up through sporting director Andrea Berta to ownership itself. None of that means it's close to happening. Arsenal haven't even opened direct talks with Real Madrid at this stage, by most accounts, and Madrid have shown no obvious appetite to sell one of their most gifted players. But the fact the club is willing to explore it at all, and to prepare a genuine financial package around it, tells you plenty about where Arsenal think they are right now. Here's where it gets complicated though. Arsenal spent heavily last summer, north of £250 million, and recouped only a fraction of that through sales. This time around there's an acceptance internally that the same approach can't be repeated. Trossard has already left for Besiktas and Jakub Kiwior has moved on too, with those two sales combining for something in the region of £30 million. A start, but nowhere near enough to fund another marquee move on top of Guimarães. That's exactly why several current first-teamers now find their futures under real scrutiny. Gabriel Martinelli is the name most heavily linked with an exit, partly because he's struggled for consistent game time over the past season, and partly because he and Vinicius share the same representation through Rock Nation, meaning his own camp would be acutely aware of what a Vinicius arrival could mean for his role. Martinelli himself, by most reports, isn't pushing for a move and remains happy at the club, but Arsenal have made clear they'd consider a significant offer if one arrived, with reported interest from clubs including Bayern Munich. Shifting his roughly £180,000 a week salary off the books would help meaningfully. Gabriel Jesus, on wages close to £280,000 a week, is another player some reports suggest Arsenal would be willing to sell at a reduced fee if it eases the numbers. None of this is really about Arsenal being unable to afford a Vinicius deal on paper. Their revenue for the season is projected at close to £770 million, an extraordinary figure boosted heavily by the Champions League run, and enough to put them among the very richest clubs in world football. It's more about the accounting rules English and European football now operate under, where genuine marquee signings tend to demand genuine sacrifices elsewhere in the squad first. Put all of that together, and here's the actual problem for every other club in this league. Arsenal aren't rebuilding, and they're not chasing an identity the way some of their biggest rivals currently are. They're the champions. They've got the best defensive record in the country to prove it. They matched the reigning European champions for 2 hours of football before losing on the finest possible margin. And instead of standing still after all that, they're closing in on a genuine top-tier midfielder in Guimarães, while seriously exploring the possibility of one of the most talented attackers alive in Vinicius. All funded through a level of ruthless squad trimming, this club hasn't always shown the discipline to carry out in the past. A backline already tested under the biggest pressure the game can offer. A midfielder who, by most accounts, wants the move himself. And ownership apparently willing to make a genuine superstar the highest earner in the club's history, provided the numbers elsewhere in the squad actually add up first. Every team chasing the title next season now has to prepare for an Arsenal side that already knows exactly what winning looks like, that's already proven it can go the distance in Europe against the very best. And that's treating a Premier League title and a Champions League final appearance not as a finishing line, but as a platform to build something bigger on top of. That's the real Arsenal problem. It isn't one player, and it isn't one signing. It's a champion that refuses to stand still, closing in on reinforcements that could turn last season's heartbreak into something even better this time around, while every other club in the country is still trying to work out how to actually catch them. If you enjoyed this breakdown of what Mikel Arteta is building at the Emirates, make sure you're subscribed to Football Detailing for more tactical deep dives like this one. And let me know in the comments whether you think Arsenal can actually pull off a Vinicius Jr. signing this summer.